Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we are now live from Lagos, Nigeria. And I have with me tonight a great son of Lagos, a great son of Nigeria, a great son of Africa, and a great icon of the world. He's made his mark in banking, he made his mark in politics, and today he'll be talking to me about entrepreneurship. Yes, what we lack today is what we'll be talking about, because a lot of people complain, oh, there are no jobs and they're waiting for government to create jobs. No, we need to go all out and begin to do things outside the box. I can see Toba Gold. I spoke to him just barely 2 days ago. Happy birthday again, Toba. It was nice speaking to you. Yes, I can see a lot of my friends joining already. This is going to be a very, very important conversation, and I cannot wait to have Otunba Femi Pedro on this platform. Yes, I'm just waiting for him now to join us. If you see Femi Pedro, please alert me. Our great Otunba will be joining us shortly. So in the meantime, I can see Wale Adeyemo all the way from North Carolina. Good evening, Wale. Good evening from Lagos, the heart of Africa. I hope that America will calm down very soon and that you guys will take your country back. Good evening, my brother. Yes, I can see so many people joining us. But in the meantime, let me just say, let me quickly write something. Henry the Great, Ukazu, all the way from New York. How are you? How is your wife? Yes, it's always good to have you. I know you're a very busy man.
The right to eat like a license plate. My flow is danger. I'm Tyson in Vegas, but we can go all night. This is Lagos, so I did the remix. You could kiss my ass. I really like to eat. I'm trying to marry Mama Gas. I roll with ballers. Oh yes, I know JJ. If you ain't get it, tell the DJ to replay. I know JJ, the real JJ. Step on the field, let me show you how we play. Strictly rose, mommy, you should upgrade. I know you're cold, I take it to Caliente. And I don't mean to brag, I've let my pain sag, but what else can I do with this much swag? I'm like rhythm and femme, I am so big time, man. I go love you long time. Hey, ain't nobody but the nigga that started, cause the nigga that started, don't bother nobody. Just go easy, just so easy. Never say that, that's we don't do that.
I can see our regular friend Nikki Ebony. Egimi, how are you tonight? All the way from Atlanta, Georgia. It's incredible. We seem to have so many Americans on this platform tonight. You know, in America, they love good business. And my guest will be speaking about how to be a good business personality. Yes. I can see so many people who are joining us. They want to learn, a few things about doing business. Yes, setting up. I cannot wait to see. Okay, I've seen Uncle Femi Pedro. That is one man that I love so much. He's such a gentleman. When you see him, you see how handsome. You think he's a 30-something-year-old man. But he's done it all. He's seen it all. Egbo. How are you, sir? Egbo. How are you, sir?
I'm very fine. It's my pleasure.
You.
A beautiful.
Thank you, sir. You're always looking fine. You are always looking very, very fine. I've never seen you look, anything else. And I think I've known you for quite some time now, sir. So you are welcome on this program. Let's ask my viewers, can you see both of us very well, please? Please let me have the sign if you can see us well on Instagram. Fantastic, thank you. Is anyone watching us on Facebook? Because we're doing 4 platforms simultaneously. Is anyone watching us on Twitter and also on YouTube? Fantastic. So I think so far so good. The internet is acting according to plan. So Otunba,
Yes.
you are welcome, sir. And before we go into the normal introductions, we have a protocol, and the protocol is that we're going to play you some music. I know you're a good Christian. You're a good Christian, good family man. You are a role model. So we want to celebrate your life, and we want the young ones to learn from your life. So we'll start with an hymn, a church hymn that I like so much, and I hope you would enjoy it. If you could adjust your camera a bit, sir. It seems your head is a bit cut off, sir. If you can just adjust your camera so that... Okay.
Yes.
Let's take it back a bit
Is it okay now?
A bit up. No, a bit up, sir. Let it come up a bit. We want to see you up. No. That's going down. Up. Okay, that's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think it has. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Thank you, sir. Okay.
If you need me to adjust
God,
it, I can.
Yeah, it's good, sir. To God be the glory.
Oh, yeah. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Let's sing.
Thank you, sir. It's good to have you. If I could give another advice, sir, if you could quickly check your phone to check that the notification is on Do Not Disturb, but because if phone calls come through, it would disrupt. Yes, if you could just check, we'll wait, sir. We'll see after we have time. If you go to settings and go to notification, because I can see the phone is beginning to act up, so it's possible that calls are coming through. So someone says I'm a great organist.
It's done.
It's done now, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, sir. So good evening, distinguished friends, ladies and gentlemen from all over the world. We're reaching you live from Lagos, Nigeria, and with me on this program tonight is Otunba Femi Pedro. Some people said Otunba is not wearing cap. You forgot that he is a technocrat who just found himself in politics and is back as a technocrat. And that is why we have him tonight. He's very, very passionate about youth development, empowerment, job opportunities, and all that. And we'll be talking to him about that. But before we do that, the usual thing is when we have great men and women like you on this program, our viewers, a lot of them might be too young to know so much about you. So they want you to introduce yourself from the beginning. We'll take it slowly. We have all the time in the world, sir. There is no hurry.
Thank you, Basharun. I appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. My name is Femi Pedro. I started my banking career way back in that, 38 years ago. I was in the banking industry up to 2002. I rose to the position of managing director before I was appointed as the deputy governor of Lagos in 2003. I served the great state of Lagos in 2007. Then I retired back into the private sector. I've been able to serve on many boards. And presently, I'm the chairman of SMEDAN, Small Medium Enterprise Development Agency of Nigeria, and I'm chairman of Lagos State Sports Trust Fund. And I'm a mentor of young people. I like to support entrepreneurs, encourage them, give them advice. And by the grace of God, I've just authored my first book ever. I'm so excited about it. I'm so proud of it. It's titled The Formula for Wealth. It's a roadmap for anybody who aspires to create real. And I'm focusing on the young more importantly, because they are young. They have time on their side. And they can learn from mistakes that we made. And they have many years ahead of them to go follow the right path. And this is what I spell out in this book, 9 chapters, about 140 pages, to read, flows very smoothly.
The great Otunba, please, we would want you to take your life. This is your story. We want you to take your life from primary school. What was it like in those days? So how did you then enter secondary school from there to... People want to feel your trajectory and see. Some of those watching now are probably in secondary school or university, and a lot of people are giving up hope that maybe in our time it's not going to be possible. So let's see how you did it at that time till this moment, sir.
Okay, I will be very brief. I was born in Lagos here. I grew up in Lagos Island, a very poor part of Lagos Island. Actually, my grandmother raised me, and I lived in a corridor in a family compound with my grandmother.
Wow.
We struggled. We were poor. And I mean, when you say poor, we were poor. But funny enough, I didn't know we were poor because I was surrounded by families who loved me and every one of us. And we never lacked anything. We played around and we went to primary school, thanks to Otunba Femi Pedro, who introduced free primary education at that time. By the time I finished primary school, I wasn't sure I was going to go to secondary school because secondary school education was free. But my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, insisted that I must go to secondary school. So it took me to a school, a boarding school in Ahmadiyya College, Agege. And in those 7 years I spent in boarding school, it was not easy. It was a struggle. But my grandmother sweated, and I just managed to go to school. Luckily for me, because I did well in my A-level, I was given a scholarship. Lagos State government provided me a scholarship to study anywhere in the world. I traveled
Wow.
to the United States of America, and I attended university at the University of Wisconsin in the United States of America. I did my first degree within 3 years, and then I went for my master's degree in economics, and I completed my studies within 5 years. And unlike most people at that time, I decided not to stay back. I came back to Nigeria in 1980. I did my NYSC, and I enrolled at the Central Bank of Nigeria as an officer. And that's where I spent the first 6 years of my career. During that time, honestly, what I wrote in this book, I did not know about it. All I wanted to do was to climb through the ladder and succeed in my career as a banker. Unfortunately enough for me, During my years at the central bank, I was opportune to have met Otunba Balogun, who employed me out of central bank and made me his executive assistant. And that changed my life. You know, in life, sometimes you eat it right and you take opportunity when it comes. And working with Otunba Balogun opened my eyes to the world. That was where I learned about corporate life, investment, and how to create wealth and how to grow. Otunba Balogun is a man of excellence. He loved his business. He worked hard to create a bank. And I learned a lot. Unfortunately for me, 2 years with Otunba Balogun, I met two young men who wanted to start their own bank. And they brought me in to work with them. And I was opportuned. I put all my savings together, every money that I could gather, and I was able to invest in that new bank. And that new bank at that time, this was 89. The bank was licensed in 1990, and it was called Guarantee Trust Bank.
Wow.
It's another story entirely. At the time I met Tayo Adeniokun, God bless his soul, and Fola Adeola, we were all in our early 30s, 31, 32,
Wow.
33 years. And we
Wow.
had dreams of building a bank. And they told me, if you want to join us in this venture, you have to raise the money. And I asked them, how much was it? They said, I have to look for the minimum investment of 200,000 naira. At that time, it was equivalent of $45,000. That was
Wow.
like 10 years of my. Of course, normally when you hear such an amount, the natural thing is to say, I can't afford it. Where will I get the money? Where will I get the money? But I was determined. I said, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. This is an opportunity of a lifetime. So let me look for this money. How will I raise 200,000 naira at that time? So I went to my boss in Balogun. I pleaded with him. I said, give me a personal loan. And eventually he granted me a loan. I
Wow.
started selling off everything. Tayo Adeniokun told me, you don't have to pay the whole amount now. We have about a year plus. Just open a savings account with me and keep putting money you can get. So every month, my wife was aware of it. I put this funds together and I was able to meet the minimum capital required. This is what changed my life, because not only that I was an investor, guaranteed, I was the first employee of that bank. Thanks to
Wow.
Tayo Adeniokun and Fola Adeola, I was employed as a senior manager in charge of corporate finance. I was earning good salary, and at the same time, I was earning bonuses, I was earning dividend, and the share value of my investment was growing. Over a period of 8 years, that 200,000 naira multiplied in so many folds. And of course, thank God, by the time I left Guarantee Trust Bank in 1997, I was already a millionaire just based on that investment alone. I did not have to steal. I did not have to do anything. So you see, and how did this happen? That little sacrifice I made. I could have used that money to travel to America on vacation. I could have used it to buy a car. I could have used it to do so many things. And those things will have vanished today. So those are the lessons and from that time onwards, I opened an investment account. Every time I had my salary or bonuses, I put some in my investment account and I started acquiring equities, shares in the capital market.
Wow.
By 1998, when I left Guarantee Trust Bank, two of my friends approached me and they said, there was this bank for sale. Can we buy it? At that time, I wasn't scared. I said I would just sell off my shares in Guarantee Trust Bank, put in as my own contribution, and that's how we acquired what was then Commerce Merchant Bank. And I became the managing director, which means that I owned the bank. I owned 50% of that bank. So I put all my efforts. I worked very hard to make the bank successful. By the grace of God, I was MD of that bank for 4 years, till 2002, December, when Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu invited me to join his government as the deputy governor, Lagos State. So this is my story, and there's a lot to learn from it. And that's why I decided to put this book together so that a lot of people learn from this. Let me give you an example. Somebody came to me and said that he needed me to help him with his business, to give him money. And I asked him, before he asked me for help, he first told me that, oh, he just came back from Dubai. He went on holidays. Oh, I said that was Dubai. He learned, he moved around. He really had fun. And I said, so what can I do for you? He said, oh, I need you to give me support in my. I said, how much do you need? He said, 200,000 naira. He will be happy if I give it to him. I just looked at him. But he just came back from Dubai. He said, yes. So why will you spend money to go to Dubai if you need money for your business? So this is the mistake a lot of people make. Misplaced craft. And if you have a commitment and you have a dream, you stay focused on your dream. So that is number one. Number two, part of the reason why a lot of people struggle is because they don't understand the concept and the foundational principle of wealth creation. It is one thing to have an education. It is another thing to understand how to create wealth. They don't teach us in school. I was just fortunate to have worked with Otunba Femi Pedro to learn some of these things. A lot of
Yeah, I
people are
was
not
going
that
to
fortunate.
ask you, sir. Yes, in fact, on that note, I was going to ask you about the roles of heroes, mentors, and role models in one's life. Because I'm reading a lot of the comments, and now I can see a lot of people are very excited about this conversation.
Chapter 5 of my book has what I call the rules of wealth. There are 8 of them. One of them is mentoring. Anybody who wants to succeed in business, don't just jump into that business. First of all, attach yourself to somebody who has been there before you, who knows the ropes. They say that if you want to see farther, stand on the shoulder of giants so that you can see far beyond, your eyes. So mentoring is very critical. It's part of the rules of wealth. When you are dreaming of setting up a business, once you identify that business, don't just jump into it. Don't go and start. Look for somebody who has been in that business or who is already in that business, and try and ask him or use him as your mentor. And part of that rules of wealth is apprenticeship. You want to run your business, first of all, attach yourself to a company or an industry that is in that business. Learn, grow, understand what is involved. So that is mentoring for you. It's very critical part of wealth creation.
So apart from Otunba Femi Pedro, who were the other mentors you had, or he was just the only one?
No, he wasn't the only one. After I left the Merchant Bank, I started working at Guarantee Trust Bank. Tayo Aderiokun, God bless his soul, and Fola Adeola changed my life. They trained me on the basic concepts, all the things that I know today. They imbibed it in me. One of the rules of wealth I put in my book is character and integrity. Warren Buffett says that when you are doing business with somebody, check for 3 things: talent, knowledge, and character and integrity. If the person don't have the third one, don't bother yourself about the first 2. And you see, a lot of people mistake that you can't succeed in business unless you cheat. If I is the opposite, you can't succeed in business if you cheat. You can succeed temporarily in the short term. If you don't have integrity, you can get away with some things in the short term. But in the long run, you can't sustain it. All over the world, it's very, very important. I learned this in Guarantee Trust Bank. When we first started the bank, we were part of about 90 banks granted license by Babangida in 1990. And it was a rat race. Everybody wanted to break the market. we all started chasing the same customers. And as a new bank, it took off. But most of the other banks were so much in a hurry. And there were a lot of underhand deals going on at that time. Foreign exchange racketing, brokerage commission, and all sorts of things. But Fola Adeola, as the managing director, he imbibed it in us right from the beginning that we must run a transparent and accountable bank. Nobody must give bribe to anybody. Nobody must pay brokerage commission to anybody. It was tough for us, but we stayed that line. And up to today, that bank has what's called the orange rules. That's the guy of that started at that, and it helped us because 4 years down the line, almost 80% of those 90 banks collapsed. Only a few banks survived, and Guarantee Trust Bank was one of those surviving banks. And one of the reasons is because we stayed true to our values. So those two are people that I will never forget, impacted heavily in my career and what I have become today. The last person is Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because at the time he brought me in as a governor, I've never been in. That was my first job as a public officer. I wasn't sure what to expect. I didn't understand the political environment and everything. But he made it so easy and smooth for me. He calmed me down, supported and assisted me. And I watched him very closely. A lot of people don't understand the fact that, yes, the man may be a political source, but he has spent many years in the corporate sector before he became the governor of Lagos State. And he has this entrepreneurial flair. And that was what helped our government at the time for us to achieve so many firsts, as the government of Lagos State. So
someone just asked, okay, before I go to that, still on heroes, I want us to exhaust that before we move to the next one. Growing up in school, maybe in primary or secondary school, was there a particular teacher or somebody or someone in your church who made an indelible impression on you?
Well, yes, in different ways. Our teachers, my teachers in primary school, they taught us well. They taught us good values. And ditto in secondary school. But, those years, see, let me explain something. In the book on the rules of wealth, the first rule of wealth that I explained there, okay, that's on chapter 5, is what I call personal wealth mindset. Your mindset is very important if you want to create wealth. And that mindset is ingrained in you from the day you are born, and is the way you are raised. The attitude of your parents towards money, or the people around you, the way they explain money to you, and the way they explain the work ethics to you, that stays with you. That's why some people feel that money is evil. Some people feel that pursuance of wealth is not noble. Things, are in you. And as you
Your
grow up,
Excellency, we're having
it
problems
affects
with your internet. Yes, your internet is acting up a bit. Yes, I don't know.
Okay.
Let's carry on. And then we
Let,
need
let,
you to come up a bit. Your seat seems
okay.
to have gone down, so we're not seeing your face,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. All right.
Okay, that's
Can you see me
perfect.
now
If you
very
can
well?
stay like that, that is perfect. Yes, that's
Okay.
perfect, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. Can you hear? Is the internet okay for you?
Yes, we
Or is
can see
still
you
wobbly?
now, and yeah, it's a bit.
Okay.
Yes, it's
All
a bit
right.
wobbly, but we will manage.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Let me see if
Okay.
I can change my internet source.
If we lose you, you can then come back in again. No problem.
I'm back again now. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm back.
Okay, sir.
So I'm through.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I wanted to ask. Okay, someone asked. That's Nikki Ebony from Atlanta, Georgia. She said, "What are the orange rules?" You mentioned the orange rules, but you didn't expatiate on it.
Okay, the orange rules are, these are rules set by Guarantee Trust Bank as a corporate organization. Okay, and it has to do with professionalism, service excellence, character, and integrity. Those are the rules the bank set as its own values. So what I'm saying is that those rules started at the time we started the bank in 1990. And the bank has developed on those rules, and it has helped them to become one of the largest and most successful banks in Africa today.
Now, what is the relevance of risk taking to starting a business? Because I took a risk when we were starting Ovation. We needed
No, you can,
£150,000. We couldn't raise more than 20,000. So there were
you,
people who said, no, it will never work. It will never fly. So did you ever go through that?
oh, yes. Yes, you cannot succeed as an entrepreneur if you don't have appetite for risk. That is the first element of a successful entrepreneur. You have to be a risk taker. You have to be bold, courageous, tenacious, persistent, determined, committed. And if you don't have these values in you, you cannot be an entrepreneur. You cannot be a successful entrepreneur. So risk taking is part of entrepreneurship. At the time, I was asked to put 200,000 naira in Guarantee Trust Bank in 1989. There was no bank called Guarantee Trust Bank. It could have been a failure. Do you understand? So I took the risk. I sold everything I had. I dug deeper into my arsenal to bring out 200,000 naira. That was a risk. I could have lost everything. But the reason why I took that risk was because I believed in the two guys. I was sitting in front of them and I was telling myself, these are my age group and they're already dreaming dreams. They're already talking about owning a bank. This is something that I never even thought of. And I said, if these guys are so determined to start a bank, I must join them. In fact, what happened was this. I was asked by them to write a feasibility study for the bank. And the day I went to submit the study to Fola Adeola and Tayo Aderiokun, and they were about to pay me. Tayo was about to pay me. He asked me, how much do I want to be paid? And I gave him one amount that wasn't really so huge. And he wrote a check and he gave it to me. And I was walking away and I stopped. I looked back. I said, wait a minute. You guys want to start a bank? He said, yes. I would like to join you. He said, but you don't have the money. I said, hey, this check you just gave me, let it be my first deposit. I gave it back to him.
Wow.
I could have walked away with that money. I could have bought new clothes, a brand new suits and shoes. I could have done anything with that money. Whatever I could have done with that money will have disappeared by now. So you have to be a risk taker to do business. Sometimes you lose. Sometimes you win. When you lose, it's like running and falling down. You pick yourself up and you keep on running.
Yes, I must remember to say a big thank you to you for supporting me while I was in England. I remember you wanted to market a product of your bank, and you called me from nowhere one day, and we organized the event at the Hilton Metropole. I will never forget that. Thank you so
You
much.
have
I
a
always
very good
remember good
memory.
things.
That was,
How can I forget?
Let me just give a short story of that. That was a product my bank created called Flash Me Cash. It was an internet banking product. At the time, no bank in the world was doing internet banking. I had a staff at that time, my head of technology, Deji Ogutonade, who worked closely with me. And we worked together to develop that product. I was so excited about it that I had to take it to England to sell it to Nigerians there to use it as a money transfer product to Nigeria. And I remember that I gave you a call and we did a very good job. Thank you very much. You have a very good
Thank
memory.
you, sir. You see, why it is very important to me, it's a secret that I would want my viewers to know today. A lot of people think Dele Momodu or Ovation makes money from government. From when you were in government, I'm sure you remember that maybe
Yeah.
the only time you saw me was the day I came in with Otunba Femi Pedro to see Ashiwaju, and we're
Yes.
all in his office. They don't know. It's because of people like you that we are able to sustain Ovation. We have a lot of
We thank
professionals
God for
like
you.
you who support us from time to time, and I have this opportunity to say thank you to you. Because that's the only way I can write all those articles I write.
You did a
Against
good
both
job.
friends and.
I should thank you. You did a good job. So
Thank you, sir.
We had a successful launch.
Thank you, sir. One of the questions here is the role of biographies in the building greatness for people. Do you read a lot of biographies? And yes,
it's good. It's good to read about successful people. It's good to see how they chart their path. You can learn a lot from them. In fact, one of my favorites pastime was to read biographies in years past. And I read biography of many of the greats today. In fact, I have a library full of books. So it's good to read books. You gain a lot from it. There's nothing absolutely wrong with that. It also helps your dream, because you see how some people, started, ran into problem and obstacles, and they still persisted. They continued along that line, and eventually they succeeded.
Okay, sir. Before we continue, we would play another song just to relax you a bit, and then we'll go to the other level. This is my story.
Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. Oh, what a foretaste of glory divine. There are salvation, purchased of God, born of His Spirit, washed in His blood.
This is my story. This is my song. Praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story. This is my song. Praising my Savior all the day long. Perfect submission, perfect delight, visions of rapture now ghost on my side. Angels descend me, bring from above. Echoes of mercy, whispers of love. This is my story. This is my song. Praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story. This is my song. Praising my Savior all the day long. Yes, sir. This is your story.
Hey,
So we
thank
try
you.
to get relevant songs. Yes,
Thank you.
some people are asking that what was it like starting a bank from scratch? Maybe there are people who are trying to get ideas from you. What was it like? And today, now you've tasted the past and you are still very relevant in the industry. So what would you advise?
Well, you mean what will I advise anybody want to start a bank now?
Yes, if you were to want to start a bank today, do you still have more rooms for banks, or you think we're already saturated? And what was it like starting yours at that time?
Oh, first of all, starting us at that time was the most exciting experience I've ever had in my life. I was I told you that I invested in a bank. So I was working like the owner of the bank. I committed my time, my energy, my resources to ensure that the bank succeeded. And it worked. I was fully committed. Now, starting a bank is like having a dream. I want to advise listeners today, if you have passion for something, start dreaming dreams. And there's no limit to what you can achieve. And don't get discouraged. It may look impossible to you, but if you put your mind to it, it's quite possible. First of all, the Central Bank of Nigeria is still granting banking license. However, the world is changing. The world is changing. Financial technology now is taking over. And so if you are thinking of starting a bank now, you should be thinking of a high-tech bank. In America today, they have banks that don't even have branches at all. They operate strictly online. Their costs are far less than traditional banks, and they are more competitive. So if you are thinking of starting a bank, it's a good dream. It can be achieved, and it's quite possible. But you have to go through a number of things. One thing I'm always advising people, if you read my book, if you want to succeed as an entrepreneur, you must imbibe what I call the rules of wealth. That is what makes a major difference between a successful entrepreneur, a wealthy person, and somebody who is struggling. The person who is struggling has not imbibed the rules of wealth. And a successful entrepreneur has imbibed the rules of wealth. I have met and have known quite a lot of successful entrepreneurs. I've interviewed many of them. I've studied them from afar. I've studied them closely. And I know that they do certain things different from the rest of us. And that's why they are successful.
So what are some of the things you learned from them, sir?
First of all, I've mentioned what I call personal financial mindset. You must believe that you can do it. You must have passion for the business you want. You must keep the right company. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to move with the successful entrepreneurs. You have to put yourself in their cycle. You have to go where they are. You have to relate with them. That is where you learn a lot from them. That is where you get good business tips. If you spend all your time in bars, nightclub, drinking, and frolicking, there's no way you will not get it. I mean, you will not get it. You have to spend a lot more time studying them, moving with them. And I also mentioned mentoring, apprenticeship. You must learn, you must attach yourself to somebody who is a success in that line, who has made it in that line, who understands that business, so that you can learn a lot from it. Character and integrity is very key. If you see anybody today who do not have that character and he says successful, he's deceiving himself. He may have money, but it's not worthy. And at the end of the day, that money will vanish. So it's very important. It's very key. Then you must be able to choose your path to wealth. So those are some of the rules of wealth that I highlighted in my book, in chapter 5 of my book. If you read it, you study it very well, and you decide that you want to commit yourself to these rules, you will not go wrong. Particularly if you are a young person and you are just starting afresh. All these things I didn't know 40 years ago, 30 years ago. I learned them along the way. I learned them also by reading a lot of books. There's a book by Robert Kiyosaki called The Rich Man, Poor Man. I'm a rich dad, poor dad. You read that book, you will learn a lot from it. And there are lots of good books out there that you can buy and read. But a lot of people don't read. Some don't say they don't have the time to read. You must train yourself to read at least one book in a month. I'm not talking, but I'm talking about books that can give you knowledge, because knowledge is wealth. If you really want to change your status in life, you must acquire the knowledge. If you don't have the knowledge, you will not know the roadmap.
Wow. Okay, we're still going to come back to your book. We will go to the nitty-gritty of your book from chapter 1 to the last chapter. But before we do that, I want to give you a marathon question, if I can put it that way. Marathon, because I'm lumping so many questions together. The role of credit in business, loans. You know that, especially for those of us who live partly abroad, you cannot survive without credit. You cannot survive without loans. You cannot buy a house without a mortgage. So what is the problem with us that we are not able to get this right in Nigeria?
Well, a lot of issues involved. Luckily, I've been in banking industry for many years, and I was a managing director, so I know a lot about credit. And I've also been an entrepreneur, and I know what entrepreneurs go through to get loan. No business can survive without loans. It's part of growing a business. You need funding. You need to strengthen yourself. You need to grow your assets. You need to be able to have good, solid working capital to be able to grow your business. But the problem is that a lot of people don't set up their business properly. If you start wobbly in a way that your business is not properly structured, you will find it difficult to attract loan. And even if you do get the loan, it will be very expensive or difficult for you to manage. That is chapter 6 of my book. I call it the fundamentals of entrepreneurship. I laid it out. Many people start business because that they are desperate to start a business, or they are forced out of their employment and they need to do something, or because they saw somebody doing very well in that business and they feel they should go into it. Remember, I told you that there are things that come before starting the business. If you don't go through all those steps, you just jump into it. Then after you jump into it, if you are able to raise some money, some capital, you acquire equipment and machinery, you hire staff, you start the business, and then you need a loan. And then you approach the bank. And the bank just look at your business and say, this man is not properly structured. This business is not well staffed. Do you understand what I'm saying, Dele?
Yes, yeah, I do.
Exactly. So if you want to take loans to support your business must first be properly structured. You must have a good and solid foundation. A lot of businesses in Nigeria don't have a solid foundation. When I was writing my book, I did a survey of 500 businesses, and I found out that 85% of these businesses are struggling. They are not doing very well. So 15% that are doing well. If you ask many of these businesses why they are not doing very well, they will tell you power supply, infrastructure problem, interest rate is too high in Nigeria. Those are not the reasons. If you dig deeper, there are more fundamental issues. First, the businessman does not have the solid knowledge of the business is running. He has not acquired the experience before he jumps into that business. He does not have the technology know-how. There's no creativity in him and innovation to be able to distinguish himself in the market and create a product that will attract customers. See, every business, for it to survive, must sell. And if you don't attract sale, you cannot survive. Your business will die. And how to attract sales is you create a product or a service that customers want to buy. And to do that, you have to be creative and innovative. You have to do certain things that will make the customer look at the other product and pick your own. It's not just enough to somebody is producing something and want to join. Do you understand? So that's why a lot of people struggle. It was very revealing for me when I did the survey. And also because I'm chairman of SMEDAN, I meet a lot of businesses, entrepreneurs who struggle. I talk to them and I understand what they are going through. But many of them are going through these problems because they did not start the business properly. If you build a house and the foundation is not strong, that house will come crashing down eventually.
I have many friends abroad, and some of them are watching us right now, who many times will call, oh, please, Bob D, I have this money. I don't want it to disappear. What can I invest in Nigeria? And so on and so on. What advice would you give such people? They are making money abroad, but they are afraid of losing it right there.
Yeah, and if they just call somebody and say, what can I invest the money in Nigeria, they will lose it. They will lose it. It's the wrong approach. It's the wrong approach. So see, in my book, in chapter 7, the title of that chapter is Money Earns Money. The principle of investment is completely different. You have to understand and study it. You have to know the various products and opportunities available. There's a lot of money in investments. I just told you about investments in Guaranteed Trust Bank. And you can invest in equities all over the world if you have the knowledge and you know what you are doing. If you just call somebody and say, what can I invest in? You will lose your money. So you have to talk to experts. In Nigeria today, we have financial advisors. We have stockbrokers who are well established. Introduce your friends to these stockbrokers. We have real estate companies who buy and sell real estate. They are legitimate, they are good. Introduce your friends to these real estate companies. Don't let them talk to novices or people who don't have experience or knowledge of what they are doing. So it's not just about sitting down there and say, what can I invest money in? It's about picking the right people to seek advice from.
Is it true there is this myth that the best form of the business, and this has been since when I was born, that if you have properties, that some of the richest people are people who invested early in properties? Is this true?
Very, very true. Very, very true. In my survey of 500 successful entrepreneurs who I can call millionaires, 95 of them have huge investments in properties. In fact, it's one way to hedge your wealth because it's a lasting asset. And if you invest in the right property, the value grows exponentially and income comes from it. But you have to also have the knowledge or use professionals. It's not just enough to see somebody say, there's one property, run there, you see it, and put money in it. So you have to use professionals to give you good advice. So that's also in chapter 6 of my book. I dealt extensively with real estate investment there for anybody who wants to invest in real estate. But acquiring the knowledge is very important. Using the right is also very important.
How do you deal with land speculators? There is always a problem with land, especially in Nigeria. So how does one go about that?
Unfortunately, because our land use system is not yet perfected, Lagos State is even trying. Lagos State is far ahead of many states in Nigeria. So documentation is an issue because a property only has value when it is documented, when you have a proper certificate of occupancy. If you don't have a CFO or a legal documents, that property is valueless. So the best way, see, a lot of people don't like spending money for lawyers or professionals. If somebody say, I need help, I'm approaching a consultant. Consultant says, pay me 2 million or 3 million, they will run away. But if you are dealing with the right person, you are getting great value from that person. It's very important. So you have to avoid land speculators if you deal with good lawyers who understand land laws and who knows how to perfect documents. And you won't run into problem at all.
Wow. Well, I think this is getting very interesting. When we come back, we're going to play you a young man that I know you love so much, Banky Wellington, Banky W.
Very
And then
beautiful.
we'll now come to the book itself.
It's my guy. Thank you.
Yeah, no. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yes. Wow, wow, wow. This is very interesting. I'm seeing a lot of good.
She said she likes it when I stay. She said she don't want me to go. She says I always make her day. Girl, would you be my lover now? She said she really likes my style. Seems like she wants to take it slow. Do anything to make her smile. Girl, would you be my lover now? What am I to do? Tired of running around chasing you. I can never think of replacing you. It's like you ain't fine, baby, make up your mind. Hey, would you be my lover? Yes, yes, yes. Would you be my lover? Yes, yes. And if you won't be my lover, let me know. Yes, yes. Would you be my lover? Educate,
Educate.
educate. Friends telling you to just say no. Baby, no answer or no for. This guy is feeling it in my soul. So would you be my lover? No, I'm doing things I've never done. I'm giving all I have to give. I'm feeling like I found the one. Say you'll be my lover. Please. What am I to say? Tired of running around, no delay. Make you never look up, check play all the time you lay with. She gon' make me play. Shy, would you be my lover?
Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Dele, I must congratulate our young entertainers in Nigeria. They are very creative. They have done very well for this country. In fact, they are our best ambassadors all over the world. Nigerian music is now everywhere. The only advice I can give them publicly now, as they make this money, they should engage the services of professional financial advisors. They should try and spend less on luxuries and invest what they are. They should forget about the BMWs and flashy cars. They should forget about private jets and flying all over the world. Right now, they should invest their money well because these things don't last forever. Sooner or later, these monies may not come again. There are
Wow.
many great artists in the past that we know that did very well in years past. Some of them are in penury today. They are
Wow.
struggling because they didn't do it right. And so I'm saying this publicly. Many of them that are doing well, when they earn their money, they should invest properly. They should get a copy of my book and read it. And read it very. And
Fantastic. Fantastic.
thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that fantastic advice. Yes, now I want us to go into the book right from the first chapter. So, what do we expect to find? I must thank you because a lot of people believe that what we're discussing tonight is like a lecture from the Harvard Business School or from Oxford or somewhere, and this is just very,
I
very
mean,
wonderful. Thank you,
thank
sir. So the
yes.
book, yes,
My first chapter I titled it Winners Don't Quit. And
winners
it's
don't quit.
yeah, it's about the story of a young Nigerian who was an electrical engineer, graduated from a major university in Nigeria, tried to get a job in one of the major oil companies, and he was disappointed. He couldn't get that job. He felt very bad. And he went back and decided to work with his friend who was repairing computers at Computer Village in Ikeja here. And he decided to be a computer repairer. He was an engineer. And that's how he started. and he struggled through this business. But he had one thing different from his friend. He was very honest and he had a good character. And he told his friend that we can't be cheating all these customers who bring these products to us to repair. Let's charge them the normal price and let them go away. And his friend said, no, you want to spoil business for us. So they probably they pushed him out and he started his own business. Today is perhaps the fastest growing brand in Nigeria. The business is called Dot. His name is Nnamdi Ezego. And I interviewed him personally. I was quite impressed with his story. And the elements in his stories are part of what I put in the book, The Rules of Wealth. Because he understands part of those rules even without being taught. And at a point in time, he was losing himself in the business. He went back to school. He went to Lagos Business to acquire more knowledge. And he restructured and repositioned his business. He was also quite innovative and creative. He brought a new brand of techno brand telephone handset into Nigeria. In fact, he was the first in the world to sell a phone with 2 SIM cards.
Wow.
When the Nigerian telecom companies were misbehaving, signals, you are losing signals, and Nigerians decided to start carrying 2 phones or 3 phones all over the place. He thought of it. He said, wait a minute. I can actually build a phone with 2 SIM cards. You don't have to carry 2 or 3 phones. And he was able to gain a lot of market share in his business. And the business is good. Everywhere you go in Nigeria today, you see slots. And it's a beehive of activity. That is my first chapter. Just to let people know that if Nnamdi Ezego can make it, you too can make it. You too can make it. You have to dream dreams. You have to be determined. You have to have passion. You have to acquire and you have to have that mindset. Sometimes you can carry a notebook in your pocket and keep reminding yourself what your goals are and keep telling yourself that you are going to get there. Forget about taking vacation to London or UK. You will take those vacations with private jets when you get there, not now when you are struggling. That is misplaced priority. You spend money lavishly on luxuries when you are not ready. You are not there yet. That money you apply, but let me give you a story. One day I was in the bank. I was in Guaranteed Trust Bank, and they just paid us a bonus. As a senior manager, we hand bonuses when the bank does well. And I told my wife, I said, we are taking a trip to Spain. You know, get ready, let's go and shop. Enjoy ourselves. And as I was leaving the office, I called my travel agency to book the flight. As I was leaving the office, my broker called me. He said, Femi, where are you? I said, I'm in the office. He said, do you have some money you want to spend? I said, what for? I said, go and buy Nestle. Nestle is growing, is rising. I said, Nestle, if I travel, I said, no, don't spend that money on traveling. You will waste it. Buy Nestle. And I changed my mind. I put that money on Nestle shares. And 1 year down the line, 4 times the value of what I paid. 1 year with year. See, that's how wealth is created. It's not wasteful spending. That's part of the rules of wealth. You have to have financial discipline and personal discipline. Those 2 are very important. If you don't discipline yourself, you'll be disciplined by poverty.
God.
So if you are a wasteful spender, you like frivolous things, you can see the rich people. They are very wise with their money. Do you know that, Dele?
Oh, definitely. If I tell people that the richer you are, the stingier you become.
It's not stingy. It's just what they call thrifty or being prudent. That's how they are today. They are not wasteful. You have personal financial discipline. And so all those little things count. So that's chapter 1 of my book. Chapter 2 of the book, I define what wealth is. I call it wealth means freedom. Wealth is being prosperous. It's the state of mind of being prosperous. It's synonymous with affluence. Everybody wants to be wealthy. Is that not correct?
Yes, sir.
Is anybody who enjoys poverty? And there's nothing wrong in the pursuit of wealth if you do it legitimately and you do it well. But night, it takes time. It takes a while. You have to be persistent. You have to be dogged. You have to be committed. And it's not something you do overnight. Daily, any money you make overnight, you will throw away. I'm telling you the truth.
Come
That is
easy,
why
go
don't
easy.
go easy. That's why when some people find themselves in position of power and they see big money and they eat with all their 10 fingers and they acquire all this money, they have foreign currency, when they leave that office, after a few years, the money vanishes because they don't understand the rules of wealth. If you don't imbibe it, you don't painstakingly acquire this wealth, you will lose it. So in this chapter, I define what it means to be wealthy. You must have something that is basic, what I call financial security. When you have financial security, it means one, you have a house, a roof over your head. You don't have to worry about rent for the rest of your life. Two, it means you have a means of transportation. It means you have regular income that can feed you and your family. It means that you can afford to clothe yourself and take care of your health. That is the basic. I call it financial security. The next level is what I call financial independence. That is, after having financial security, you now have extra to take vacations, to sponsor your children to schools abroad, to give money to charity, to help other people, to sponsor some students on scholarship to universities and things like that. And the last level is what I call the absolute financial freedom. That is where the likes of Bill Gates, who is committing billions into worldwide health activities or health activities. You have the likes of Dangote, who have a lot of charities. They are spending a lot of money because they have reached that level of what I call the ultimate absolute financial freedom. And now, what is really wealth? That's what I define in the book as wealth instruments. You are not wealth, you don't have wealth instruments. The wealth instruments that I describe in this book are things like your equity, deposits that are earning interest in the bank, real estate that is yielding rental income, investment in rare gems, anything that you can trade anywhere in the world that can yield money. Those are wealth instruments. It is those wealth instruments that generate income, and the income you generate from the wealth instrument is what makes you wealthy. So if you have money, you have plenty of money, you put it in the bank or you put cash in the house, you are not wealthy. Money is liquid. And that is my chapter 3, chapter 4, what I call money illusion. Money is liquid. It vanishes. It's like putting buckets and putting it under the sun. It will evaporate after a while. It will dry up. Money only becomes wealth when you apply it properly into wealth instruments. Wealth instruments they last long, they grow in value. And this is what I tell people. Part of wealth instruments is having a business. Your ovation is your wealth instrument. It's your investment. You put all your life in it. That is your wealth instrument. If someone comes to you today, Dele, and says, sell ovation to me, I'll pay you 100 million naira. If you don't have a plan to use that 100 million naira to acquire another business or other investment, that
Don't
money
try
will
it.
go.
It will go.
That money will go. You would think it's a lot of money, but it goes fast. So that is the chapter 2. My chapter 3 is what I call the true face of poverty. This is where I use real life examples of people that I've come across. I have examples of a very well-educated medical doctor who set up an hospital. He graduated first class University of Ibadan, and he worked for an hospital for a few years, and he decided that, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to start a clinic. And he set up his own clinic. And he was doing okay. Then after a while, the owner of the building where his clinic was located decided to sell the building. And he approached him and he decided, okay, that's good for me. Let me buy this building. And he approached his bank. He took a loan and he bought the building. They gave him the loan and he bought the building. Unfortunately for him, a few years down the line, he was struggling to service the loan. The interest rate was too high and he wasn't making enough money in his clinic. He was actually losing money, but he didn't know. And eventually, the bank foreclosed the property and he wanted to sell. I was the managing director of the bank. And he came to me, he was in tears. He was fairly older than me. And I said, this is an intelligent man, smarter than me. And he has worked so hard in his life. And he finds himself in this situation. And first of all, we're not going to sell the house. And we started working together, what we call in loan work. At the end of the day, I saved the property for him. He was able to revive his business, but he learned a hard. And why did he struggle? He struggled because he was a good doctor, but he was not a good businessman.
So there's a difference between your profession.
A world of difference. You set up a newspaper. If you do not understand the fundamentals of entrepreneurship, your newspaper after a few years. You are a lawyer, you set up a legal firm. If you don't understand the fundamentals of entrepreneurship, your law firm will collapse. So you have to learn that. You have to run it as a business. You have to take the right decision. In fact, this doctor I told you about to go to Lagos Business School to learn. As a businessman, as an entrepreneur, you should do refresher course on a regular basis to bring yourself up to date. Hire the right people to help you to run your business. That's another thing I noticed in entrepreneurs. Everybody wants to do it alone. Nobody wants to partner with any other person. You understand, Dele? You cannot run a business on your own. It is not possible. It is a teamwork. You have to bring in talents from everywhere. And you have to give some of them sense of belonging, even part ownership of the business. That is the only way you can sustain that business and grow it. So a lot of businesses struggle because it's one man, his idea, his money, and he sits on that business. He's struggling left and right. He's the accountant, he's the purchasing manager, the engineer, he's everywhere. He will run to London today, come back tomorrow, you know. And sometimes they will make mistake of putting their families in the business, thinking that those ones will not steal their money and the money will, you know. So those are the mistakes people make. First thing first, you must see your business as a teamwork. People are afraid to work thinking that somebody will steal the idea or their business from them. But you organize your business very well. That is why they have the company law. A corporation is a legal entity on its own. It's different from a person. And if you're running a limited liability, separate yourself from that business. Let the company be a company. You are the director. And so those are the things that I noticed in many of the entrepreneurs. So that is the third chapter. The fourth chapter is what I call money illusion. The mirage. When you see cash, you think you are rich, but you're actually poor. You're only rich if you use the money well and you acquire wealth instruments. And in that chapter, I have so many examples of athletes, great athletes, who made billions of dollars and are now very poor. Of entertainers who made a lot of money. They are very popular, they are famous, and at the end of the day, they mishandled it. And a lot of people go into things like gambling, yahoo, money doubling. All these things are not sustainable. Even if you eat money, if your parents give you a large inheritance, and if you don't understand the concept of money, wealth, the inheritance will vanish. It will vanish after a few years. So this is what chapter 4 is all about. To let people know that money is illusory, and that you have to understand the concept of wealth creation. Chapter 5 is what I consider meat of the matter. That is the rules of, and I itemize those rules there. So I will encourage people to buy the book and understand. Chapter 6 is the fundamental of entrepreneurship. That is where I explain what it takes to run a successful business and the things that you want as an entrepreneur to create wealth. Chapter 7 is what I call money earns money. That is the art of investing. Investing in equities, in businesses, in real estate, in any other wealth instruments. 7. Chapter 8, what I have lessons in leadership. And this is where I the story of how I became deputy governor and the work I did with Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu at that time to transform Lagos, and the lessons I learned from him as a leader. I even went through the process when I contested for governor of Lagos State in 2007 and lost out to Babatunde Fashola. The lessons I learned from it. But one thing that come out of the lessons in leadership is the fact that the rules of wealth is synonymous with quality leadership. The same value system. That is why if you have a situation where political leadership is failing, is because these leaders have not imbibed the right values. It's the same. If you read the book of Lee Kuan Yew, the former president of Singapore, explained it very, very clearly. Political leadership is the same as business leadership. Transformative, creative leader, visionary leaders. This is why I explained in chapter 8. And the last chapter of the book, what I call Climbing the Ladder, I wrote at the beginning of this pandemic. And chapter explains how can get out of the pandemic, the economic recession that we are likely going into as a result of this COVID-19 pandemic. And I emphasize there that all the rules of wealth and the chapters prior to that are very relevant. In fact, Dele, it is during this pandemic that you define who is wealthy and who is struggling financially. Because when the economy locked down and people were not able to leave their home, some people did not survive. They were begging, looking for something to eat. After about 2 weeks staying at home, they ran out of money. That is the definition of poverty. That is poverty trap. You don't want to find yourself in that kind of situation, ever. But if you have acquired, you have invested your money very well, you will never lack during the period of lockdown. You just tap into your investment. That is what wealth is all about. That is why under the rules of wealth, one aspect of it that I forgot to was the culture of savings. I did a survey and I found out that less than 10% of the people save. They do not understand that saving it's actually, in fact, it's so critical if you want to really determined and committed to wealth creation. If you don't set aside part of your income, there's no way you can create wealth, because it is what you set aside that you invest back in your business. And at time of economic recession or during this period of pandemic, those who are savings did not struggle. They just tap into their savings and they start spending it. So that's some of the things that, I also emphasize that the truth is bitter and sometimes difficult for people to handle. If you make employment a lifetime ambition, you can never be wealthy. You cannot, except right from the beginning, when you are engaged in that job, you start to invest. You look at your salary, you split into 3 parts. The first part, you start putting it in equity investments. If you do that for 10 years while you are going on your job, you will become a millionaire. You will acquire more wealth instruments than even somebody else who is not even in that job. But a lot of people, when they are in employment, in the public sector or in banks or in other companies, they are getting salary, they are getting other extra income. They just spend everything. They just keep spending money. They're handing it, they are spending it. When they are promoted, that's when they remember that they want to change their car, or they want to change their apartment, they want to move up. And then they do this job for 30 years, they retire into penury. They have nothing to fall back on. Their pension is very low and it's eaten away by inflation. So things become extremely difficult for them. So those are the lessons that I want to take away from the book. Thank you.
Now there is a question here, sir. Is it possible to still have the billions and still get broke?
Oh, yes. Very, very possible. Very easy. I just said it. If you have billions and you have not put them in wealth instruments, you will get broke. You will get broke. Somebody will tell you, go and buy a private jet. Do you know one private jet sitting on the tarmac during this lockdown will have cost the owner not less than $10 million. That's how money disappears. You buy a private jet and it's locked down for 3 months. You are not using it. You have to keep it working. You have to maintain it. You have to pay insurance. You have to pay so many charges.
Parking fees,
everything. So it's easy for billions to go away. Every money you have, you must put in a wealth instrument. That's the only way you can sustain that money. Now, the wealth instruments, some of them are not perfect. You can invest in the capital market and lose your money. You have to open your mind that is possible. I have lost money. That is possible. But you win some, you lose some. On the average, you win a lot more.
What is the role of luck in business? Nothing is perfect, nothing is sacrosanct. So is it possible for someone to just get lucky?
No, you cannot just get lucky. You create your own luck. You have to put yourself in a place and a position where you will get lucky. Do you understand? You create luck. If you are not in the right place, you will not get that luck. It will not come to you. So it's not just enough to just wish that, oh, maybe I'll be lucky and get this thing. Yourself, luck will meet you.
Wow. I'm happy that you spoke in particular and directly to my line of business, show business, entertainment. You see, because I see so many young people, once you get famous, then you cannot fly commercial planes again. So people must, and the question I ask is, if you are not able to sustain it, what happens if you fly private jet for 5 years, then you are no longer making it, then you now start joining us in the regular Yes, I'm happy that you spoke about that in particular. Show business.
Yeah. There is a lot of stories about entertainers and athletes and actors who made big money and lost big money, and they became very poor. They found themselves, in abject poverty. I listed them in my book. You write the book, you read about them. You read about them. They are in chapter 3, in chapter 4, Money Illusion. I don't want to start mentioning their names now, but if you read the book, you will see it there. And the reason is very simple. You know, if let me give you an example, and I'm not trying to patronize him. Aliko Dango. I met him in 1988 when I was in first Masham, and he was one of our customers. And at that time, he was struggling. He was bringing in rice, but he was competing with Lebanese and Asians who had more money, who had access to cheap credit. But he was dogged. He was determined. He stayed there. He stayed in that business. He went from rice to sugar to fertilizer, and he was there. Even at the time, even sometimes government will just come with policy to ban importation, but he struggled on. And over the years, he grew his business and his assets multiplied. So that is one person who went through that time to get to be what he is today. And imagine another person who he made one song creatively, do you understand? And he had 1 billion. Do you understand? There's a lot of difference between the two of them. So the one that had 1 billion didn't have to work for 10 years to get to that level. So he must be careful the way he handled that 1 billion. Because the way that 1 billion came, the 1 billion can disappear just like that.
Wonderful.
So my advice
Go
to
on, sir.
them is, as you are earning, first you have to be disciplined. You have to be personally disciplined and financially disciplined. It doesn't take away from your creative talent. You can still achieve so much without wasteful spending, without the bling and all the luxury you want to show off to all your fans that you are there. What you are doing is in your mind, your brain, your creative talents. It has nothing to do with the chain or what you are, or the kind of car you drive. So when they make this money, they should just engage the services of a very good and competent professional financial advisor, put themselves in his hand, and let that person advise them and manage their wealth for them. And as they sing or do entertaining, their wealth grows.
I have a writer from England, Adeola Shonola. I actually interviewed her last week. She's published a lot of books, children books, fantasies and all that. She's asking if you can classify books as wealth instruments.
Oh, yes. A book is a wealth instrument for as long as it's still selling. It's an asset generating income. It is. Certainly, it's a wealth instrument.
Now there is a lot.
If you go on internet, Sunny Ade music in the 60s is still selling. Yusuf Olatunji, who is late, the music is still selling. Those are creative assets. So they are wealth instruments. They are generating income for the owners.
Fantastic. There is a lot of talk about economic diversification in Nigeria from oil, especially into agriculture. Would you like to speak to this?
Oh, yes. Oil has been a blessing to Nigeria. It has also been a curse. It has been a blessing because it has brought in needed cash for us. But it has been a curse because this is one industry that brings in so much money for Nigeria, but employs very few Nigerians. So the proportion of the oil sector in GDP of Nigeria is actually smaller than that of agriculture. So it's not helping our economy as much as it should. And that is why it is important for us to diversify. When we diversify, we have many eggs in one basket. I mean, in different baskets. So if one basket falls and the eggs break, we can go to the next basket. When the pandemic started, oil prices went to zero. It's just climbing up again now. If we have a robust agricultural sector exporting a lot of food products and food and crops, we will not feel the impact. Diversification is very important. And agriculture is an employment generating sector because it helps to put jobs in the economy, creating jobs for so many people. And that is why it's favored. And of course, any country that can produce its own food will be a strong country economically. We are a growing population, one of the fastest growing populations in the world. We need to feed ourselves. So every kobo we spend on agriculture is worth it. We need to spend a lot more and develop and train our people.
Well, I think I have two more questions. The time, wow, we've done about 90 minutes right now.
Yeah.
You won't believe it. This has
Well,
been a powerful lecture. Someone says we are in the MBA class. I agree. I agree. No, this is very, very wonderful. I mean, this is one of my best interviews in a long time. I really enjoyed this. Now, the role of government interventions in business. Can you, especially in a place like Nigeria where government virtually controls life and death?
Yeah. First of all, government role is to provide public goods. And businesses need these public goods to thrive and to survive. Most important one that is lacking in our environment is power supply. Virtually every business struggle when it comes to power supply. That is very important. It's also very important that we have good roads and rail and aviation infrastructure and move goods back and forth within and outside Nigeria. That is also very important. Then the financial system is also key for business, which is heavily regulated by government. And it's important that we have a good, solid financial structure. But on the negative side, it's unfortunate that many people in government, particularly the regulators, don't understand entrepreneurship. They create unnecessary bottlenecks and hardship for businesses, which is not so in other parts of the world. The mentality of an average public service person who is sitting on his desk is when a businessman approaches him or her for a public goods service, is to make life difficult for that businessman. He does not understand what the entrepreneur goes to get to the point where he is. And again, sometimes regulation is stifling for business when it's too much. You have to pay at every step for your file to get approval for a license, for something environmental or whatever. You know, it's stifle productivity and growth. And I wish that our public officers understand this very. I remember when I was deputy governor, I used to have a running battle with many of my colleagues in the public service because of the way they treat business. And luckily for me, I had a governor who was also a corporate person. He understands entrepreneurship. So we forced changes on them to make life easier businesses. And I want those changes to continue. Double taxation should be eliminated. Taxation is stifling. Yes, we need to pay taxes to governments. But when you have to pay different level of taxes for whatever, and you are struggling as a businessman, you have a lot of problems. You know, so there are a lot that needs to be done to make entrepreneurship a lot easier for Nigeria. They go through a lot. There are too many regulations, licenses, permits. I mean, you know, all these things, you know, create bottlenecks for entrepreneurs. and makes it a lot.
Government bureaucracy.
Yes.
Apart from that, there is this perception. I don't know if it is valid or it's just an exaggeration that there is too much corruption in Nigeria, and this affects every business you try to do. How can we? I don't want to talk about corruption, but how can we discourage corruption?
It's a fundamental issue. It's one of the most serious problems we have as a nation. In fact, it's the bedrock of our underdevelopment. And if we don't tackle it, we'll continue to struggle as a nation. And this goes beyond business. It's every facet of our being, from the home to the schools, to the offices, to companies, to the public service, to the top echelon of government. We need to find a way to deal with this monster called corruption. I've just told you the experience I had at Guaranteed. Believe me, I'm not boasting. If the nation is run like the way we ran Guaranteed Trust Bank, Nigeria would be Singapore today. I'm serious, I'm not boasting. If our country is run transparently, there's accountability at every level. At every level, resources of government are applied very prudently, and people feel the impact of government up to the grassroots level. And no extortion. It is now a way of life. There's no secret about it that policemen, when they are at checkpoints, they extort money. There's no secret about it that when you go for any public service, you have to pay something for somebody. Even the gate man will expect you to pay him. When they start greeting you 3, 4, 5 times, they expect you to pay, you know. So we go through all this every day, and really is killing the country. We have to find a way, not just by talking about it, something about it.
Do you think we are our own worst enemies? You spoke glowingly about the experience at Guaranteed Trust Bank, and yet you had a combination of Mr. Anti-Corruption himself, Nuhu Ribadu, combining with my brother, Fola Deola, and they couldn't make any headway. So how do we deal with the issue? It seems then that we have to seek first the kingdom of power and politics before everything else can be added onto it.
Well, my simple answer to that question, the federal government as it is presently is too powerful. There's so much power, so much authority. And when power is concentrated in one hand, it becomes very, very difficult to manage. And so in choosing and electing our leader is always going to be challenging and very problematic. And we end up most likely not getting the best out of for ourselves. So that's why I personally support the issue of restructuring. Restructuring the federation. Let's take power away. A lot of things that we do at the federal level today could be done at the grassroots level. Let's devolve it down to the constituent parts of the country. And then we can now begin to pick leaders at the local level, people who manage their own locality, and they give them the power, the authority, and the means to do it. So the rush to become president and the cutthroat politics will be reduced drastically. And that's why we struggle every time we want to elect our leaders. We go through so many processes. By the time the leader emerges, it has gone through so much that you will not even recognize the person again. Even if you are an angel, the process of becoming a president in Nigeria will make you a different person.
Wow. Well, the final one. I wish this will not end, but everything that has a beginning must have an end. How can one get this book? A lot of people want the book and they are already asking how they can get the book, sir.
Okay. The book comes in 3 different forms. There's the soft copy or soft cover, and there's the hard cover, there's the electronic book. The soft cover and the hard cover will soon be available in Nigeria. They are being shipped to Nigeria. But if you want to buy them, you can actually buy them online. There are books retailers. Amazon.com is the most popular. My publisher, authorhouse.com, they also sell the book. Barnes and Noble also sell the book. And if you want the electronic book, you can buy them also on authorhouse.com, or you can buy them on Apple iBook, or you can buy them on Kindle Amazon. And the hardcover book and the softcover will be available in Book Plus in the next few days.
Thank you very much, sir. On this note, I want to thank you for coming on this program. This has been very, very enlightening, and I hope when next we invite you, you would create time for us. I just didn't want this to end. And then I will give you the final song from Sami Oposo. And good night to all our viewers.
Thank you,
Good
Dele.
night
Thank
to all our... Thank you,
and
sir.
thank you for the question. Before we go, if you want more information about me or the book, try my social media handle at Femi Pedro on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, so.
Your Majesty, who can compare? Who can compare? Nobody. Standing for
Yes, so this time tomorrow, by the grace of God, at 8 o'clock, we'll be back with Prince Dakwa Delegar. If you grew up in Lagos, like many of us in those days, you will remember the Lekki Sun Splash.
I know him very well. He used to be my client in the bank.
Oh, fantastic.
He did some work for me.
Oh,
That's
yes.
great.
He's done a lot of great things, and tomorrow he will be talking to us about a lot of things, from Lekki Sun Splash to public relations, not just in Nigeria, but in Africa. And then about his foray into politics. He's also going into politics. And yeah, we are welcoming a lot of technocrats into politics. So tomorrow, make it a date with us. yes, we'll be having Prince Dele on this program. Then on Wednesday, I should let you know, I have a man I call my brain box. I call him Professor Socrates, Mr. Leke Older. He will be
Wow.
here on Wednesday. So
Okay.
this week is action-packed like a Chinese
Very,
movie.
very
So
loaded.
we thank you, sir. Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
very
coming,
much.
and good night, everybody. Good
I
night.
will tune in tomorrow and Wednesday.
Thank
Thank
you, sir. Thank you. We look forward
All
to
right.
receiving you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, sir. Good night. My regards to
Good night.
mommy. Thank you,
I
sir.
will. Thank you.
Thank you.